We're here with Mr. Kyle Thompson Sr. He's a correction officer, he's done armed security, and he's a firearms instructor at Cover 6. So we're going to talk about weapons training, what you should do, what you should be looking for, and then next we'll get to talk to Mr. Bob Joseph, our Legal Shield expert. He's ex-military. He's been in Legal Shield as a bronze director. He's going to inform us about gun owners' legal plans and gun owners' rights. I'm going to go ahead and unmute so that we can have Mr. Thompson tell us more about himself and his credentials. Let me get you to unmute yourself, Mr. Thompson, so you can get started. And let me change the screen here.
Perfect.
Here we go.
All right. How's everybody doing? My name is Kyle Thompson. I am a firearms instructor at Cover 6 Shooting. I just started the company. I've been in the instructing business for about 15 years. I started with the military back in 2004. Did that. Actually became a trainer in 2005. Couple deployments. Got out the military in 2007. Got out of active duty in 2007, and started doing armed security for federal contracts and overseas contracting. Was a firearms instructor at that capacity for 3 years while I was in the reserves. Completely got out the military in 2010 and became a federal corrections officer. Did that for the last 9 years, and now I'm here with the local department doing the same thing and getting back out to the range and instructing there as well. So got quite a bit of history with instructing.
How many years was that military?
I did 6 total, but 4 active.
All right. Some people don't know that. I'm an Army girl, so don't mess with me.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So, and then you did federal corrections, and now you're local.
Right.
Awesome. Well, we won't stop you. Let's get into it. You're going to tell us about what we should be looking for as right now. I see, I was at the gun store in Jacksonville yesterday. It was full. It was actually a little bit overwhelming. People were there getting their, picking out their weapons, and, they had a huge class in the back, like 30 people. What should you be looking for as a person who's just out there? They want to either do concealed weapons training or they want to do training, because I know you do marksmanship as well. So you do live shooting, at the range. So what all is it that you're teaching? What all classes do you teach, and what should someone be looking for in an instructor?
Okay, I teach concealed weapons classes, like the most popular class right now. Obviously, everybody wants to get armed. Everyone wants to get licensed. That's a pretty straightforward class. You want to teach people the basics, the fundamentals of shooting, sight alignment, sight picture, trigger control, stance, grip, follow through, breathing. That's the very, very basics that you're going to learn in that class. You're not going to shoot a whole lot of ammo. You're just going to come there, and it's more a classroom setting. You'll learn more laws and the do's and don'ts of Florida State, the Florida State statutes, things of that nature, what you can and can't do, forcible felonies, self-defense, when you can and can't shoot. You'll learn things more along those lines in a concealed weapons class. So that class is more geared towards information and then giving you the bare basics of shooting. Most people have you shoot between 1 and 10 rounds in that class.
Now, what was the name of the other class?
That was concealed weapons class.
The first one?
Yes, the first
Basics. One. Okay, with the shooting. Okay.
Very, very basic, very not too intense on the shooting and learning and training and, building that muscle memory that you're going to need to become a proficient shooter. I also offer a marksmanship class. My marksmanship class is going to be a lot more hands-on and a lot more building that muscle memory and getting you to the point where I feel like you will be proficient The nickname I give that class is being able to run your gun. And that's where you really learn how to, the nitty gritty of shooting. It's about 150 rounds per person. You get all the way from the beginning, the 7 fundamentals that I said before. You'll start there, and then you'll work your way up. And I try to get to most of my students up to shooting off trigger reset and being able to draw from concealment. That's the goal in that class. Then I also have a private training class where I do one-on-one. So the marksmanship, to go back, the marksmanship class, it's still small class sizes. I only have up to 4 people in a marksmanship class. But the private one-on-one is almost the exact same class, but it would be just with the one person or the couple that books. That locks it in for just those 2 people. And those are the things that I offer. Those are my classes. I'm in the business of just trying to get new shooters proficient with their firearm, and trying to get them to feel comfortable carrying while walking around town. And that's pretty much what I've started the business to do.
Okay, so you have some special training. What allows you to be able to teach these classes besides just being in the military and being a correction officer? You have some other special.
Absolutely. I'm personally, you have the NRA basic pistol course. You have I'm an NRA basic pistol instructor, shotgun, rifle instructor as well. But I always tell people, don't just look for that, because that's a weekend course. Anybody can go out and get that. I'm also law enforcement certified with the NRA, which is a week-long course, a lot more labor intensive. The qualification to get that certification is very tough. Once you get that, then you're eligible to become a Florida K license instructor. I'm also a Florida K license instructor through the state. I've also gone to FLETC, so I'm also a federal firearms instructor. I was a military small arms instructor as well. So everybody in the military shoots, but that doesn't mean you know how to pass that knowledge on to someone else. Right. And so for 2.5 years in the military, that was my sole job, was to literally teach people how to shoot small arms. So it's a little bit different than just being, in the military. So you just got to look for, me personally, because I still train. So I know everybody always says, if you have an instructor that doesn't continue to train, then you're not getting with a really good instructor. So when I speak to fellow instructors that are teaching instructor level courses, I always ask, well, what was the last course that you took? And what discipline was it? If I'm going to take a rifle class, I'll ask the rifle, instructor, what was the last rifle course you took? And then I write it down and I look it up. And that's the way that I tell people to approach their instructors and how they're deciding between one or the other. Don't just look on their page and see that they were Army or Marine or any of that. Because like I said before, just because you're in the military doesn't mean you were, necessarily an instructor.
You're right, because I was a medic, so I was in the medical field, lab technician. So I did shoot, but I won't be able to teach. So
right, you that once a year. Hey, we in there well, You got that qualification, we're good.
Don't call me out like that, man. Once a year.
No, it's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. No, my last 3 years in, I was a military police officer. I'll tell you, I wrote more tickets than bullets that I shot that whole last couple of years. Ain't nothing wrong with that. That's your job. So yeah, that's why I tell people. But my first few years in, I was shooting 1,000 rounds a week.
Wow. That sounds like fun, actually. Okay. What are some more things you would advise? It seems, you being a correction officer and you're teaching citizens, we know, cases like, what is his name? I can't remember it.
George
Castro. No, not him. Castro.
Okay.
But I cannot think of his name. But the young man, he had a license and he had
Oh,
a weapon.
Philando Castile.
Philando. I want to say I could not get that out. Philando
Philando Castile. Yes.
Castile.
I to me, like during my class, this is a topic I always bring up. We're not in a right to notify state, so you notifying a police officer that you have a firearm in the car on you isn't always the best move. If the traffic stop is a blown tail light or failure to indicate or 45 and a 35, deal with that. If the direct question never comes up, do you have a firearm in the car? Can you step out the vehicle? If the traffic stop isn't going down that road, there's no need to notify a police officer that you're a legal firearms owner. All it does is raise the tension from both parties, because the person that does it, they say that out of fear, and their tension naturally rises after they say it, and then the police officer has the same response. Oh, you got a gun? Oh my gosh. Rises all the way up, especially the rookie cops that are, new on the force and stuff like that. You never know who you're going to get. I believe the cop that shot Philando Castile had less than 3 years on the force. And it's unfortunate. And, it's one of those situations where everything was done wrong in that situation. And so I just tell people, just know the laws of your state. Know that if you're in a right to notify state, if you're in Colorado, the way you word the fact that you have a gun in the car may be important. Hey, I know we're in a right to notify state, but just to give you a heads up, I do have a loaded firearm in my glove box or in my center console on my person. Put your hands on the steering wheel and ask them to advise from there. But for our people here in Florida, if nobody asks you to get out the car or do a field sobriety test, search the vehicle for drugs or for anything, at the end of the day, I don't say anything. Everywhere I go, I have a gun on me. And I don't say anything unless I'm asked. So we are not in a right to notify state.
I'm gonna ask Bob too in a second, but what I notice a lot is people are using the gun because they say, I am afraid. And I'm like, wow, if you're that afraid, I don't know. Should you have a gun if you're that afraid?
Exactly.
It always comes back to, oh, I was afraid. There was a traffic accident with 2 people, and the young man, he shot the other man because he said, oh, he came towards my car and I was afraid. It's like, okay, you don't need a gun. Because
he need a
you're
Nerf
supposed
gun.
to be confident.
Yeah, he need a Nerf gun. That's the thing. I tell people in my class all the time too that you really need to understand that when you have that, it's a last resort, and it's something to protect your life. It's not something to, when you feel a little uneasy or a little uncomfortable, pull it out. In doubt, pull it out. That's definitely not what you want to do with a firearm. That should be your last resort. You may get into a fist fight with somebody and have to fight them with your gun on, and that's fine, because every fight doesn't authorize deadly force, and people don't understand that.
Yeah, kind of brings me to yesterday with that unfortunate incident. So I was like, I thought to myself, like, if I have your car, if I have your car and you run, I got your car. So I don't need to blast down the parking lot and spray down the whole parking lot. You're going to want that $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 car back one day. So I'm going to get you eventually.
Right. And your license plate is linked to your driver's license. I know who you are. I'll just go to your house and pick you up. So I'll tell you what, in my opinion, what happened with that. My opinion, what happened with that was there was a point in that situation where they were authorized to shoot. It was when he took the taser.
Right.
When he took the taser and he was on top of the officer, that was when they had the right to shoot him to protect life. And when he got up and he started running, they were still in that mode of, oh, I should have shot. I'm going to shoot now. And that, in my opinion, that's what happened. They got stuck in, oh, man, that's deadly force. That's authorized. Okay, but it's too late. You can't shoot somebody because they killed somebody last week. You know what I mean? And that's the idea behind it. Once those officers got in their head that deadly force was authorized, now they were going to use it regardless.
Now I'm gonna put my disclaimer out there because I know somebody gonna come at me with some hate mail, like, should we shoot? No, you shouldn't go around shooting people. I mean, for me, what I saw from the very beginning, if he fell asleep in his car, call him a cab or Uber or tell him to call, because he fell asleep. So you didn't pull him over while he was driving. He was asleep. So that's all I'm gonna say about that, because I know, there's a lot of drama with that, and
there's a lot of laws and gray areas and all types of stuff with that. But I agree with you. If I was on the road, like I said, I actually assisted San Diego PD for 14 months down in California when I was, military police, and it just depends on the area you're in and the command that you're with. Because we've had people sleeping in their car with their car on, and it's warm outside. They got the AC on, and technically because the keys are accessible, that it's technically a DUI, but we're just like, hey man, just we'll wake them up, put the keys in the trunk, and keep it pushing. I mean, it just depends on the command that you're dealing with. You know what I mean? Right. And so
that's definitely a key thing I want to point out to people too, is that your keys are inside your car. And I was explaining that to somebody else. You would have to take your keys and put them like on your hood or something, and then that rebuts the fact of you have the intention of drinking and driving.
Right.
So with all that being said, Bob, I'm gonna let you chime in. Where you at, Bob? There you go.
Orlando, Florida.
All right, so Bob is with Legal Shield. So Bob, we work together, we're business partners, we're in Legal Shield, and we deal with the rights of the citizen when dealing with everybody, other citizens, with police officers, with when it comes to gun owners' rights. So I'm just going to let you chime in and tell us about your credentials and what it is that you do. Go ahead, Bob.
Sure. Yeah, my video's breaking up a little bit. I don't know if it's on my end, but if it starts doing that, if somebody can just throw something in the chat and let me know on the bottom. But first of all, I want to, thank for all the expertise and all the knowledge that he brings to the table. Absolutely fantastic, absolutely correct. We carry in the United States, we carry a weapon or have a weapon because of the rights granted to us by the U.S. Constitution. Legal Shield, we grant people access to the legal system when they don't have that access, whether it's financial or whether it's, just knowledge. And I think I agree with Kyle that having a weapon, not being trained, is even more dangerous than not having a weapon at all and not being able to defend yourself. Because there's nothing worse than someone who has it because they have the right to have it, but is not trained to use it in any particular situation. And that's how innocent bystanders get injured, right? But
the magic word there, it escalates. You've escalated from an argument to a fist fight to a gun to death. You know what I mean? So.
And Erica, we see that all the time.
Right.
Most of the things that we see, most of the tragedies that we see, start out innocently enough, but escalate. One, because of circumstances that are beyond someone's control, but more importantly, it's circumstances that they don't have control of. So they don't have access to attorneys. The power, disparity between maybe the law enforcement officer and the individual. If someone just had the legal right to say to the officer, I'd like to call my attorney in this situation, how many times would that de-escalate a situation? The officer understands that everybody has the Miranda rights, whether they're given that right or not verbally. They have the right to call their attorney if they feel threatened. They have the right to utilize the legal system. It's just that most people don't have access to the legal system. Most people don't have the awareness to be able to get that access immediately. What Legal Shield has done is we've given everyone the ability right from your phone, and we all have our phone. I mean, that's one thing that we carry with us all the time. But if you had the ability to pick up your phone, tap a button on an app, and 24/7 in an emergency situation, get access to an attorney. Have an attorney on the line. So in a situation where you are threatened or you feel threatened, you could say either officer or, you know, this is my attorney. This is my legal representation. Now, from that moment, you are removed from the situation. Your legal representation is stepping in front of you, in front of that situation, okay? I've seen so many things happen that, you know, I want to scream at the TV and just say, if you only had Legal Shield, if you only had the ability to get access to your rights. And then, you know, we have a gun owner's plan, because even though the U.S. Constitution grants us the right to carry a weapon, okay, and you have excellent guys like Kyle out there who are teaching you how to use the weapon and how to conduct yourself, you know, in a professional manner with that weapon, things happen in between. And when those things go south, you know, that's when you need to have something instantaneously on your side. You need to be able to hit the phone. You need to be able to either get your advice, consultation, or have somebody defending you right then. It's not even going to keep you out of jail. It's going to keep a situation from escalating to the point where it gets beyond anybody's control. And we see that happen all the time. So
I agree 100%.
In a nutshell, that's what we do with legal.
Now, I agree 100%. Actually, one of the biggest parts of my concealed weapons class is don't say anything if you ever get into a defensive situation. The worst thing that can happen is your lawyer fighting your case and the statement that you made on the scene when you were amped up and not in your right mind. That's actually one of the biggest points that I drive home. So I'm glad to hear you say it.
Yeah. Well, you know, look, anything you can say, you know, can and will be used against you in the court of law. Okay.
Absolutely.
Even though the questions may sound innocently enough, where are you coming from? Where are you going? Why are you here? You know, you don't have to answer those, because anything that you say, and it could be in a traffic stop situation where you innocently say, I just got a phone call and looked away for a second. Okay, that's going to be used against you. You know, I just saw something out the window and I looked away for a second. Okay, these are all incriminating statements that you've made to the law enforcement officer. They're going to take those statements and use it against you. You know,
absolutely.
Just like Kyle said, the one thing we need to be aware of is that in a situation like that, you know, you conduct yourself in a respectful manner. You want to de-escalate any situation. But then again, you don't want to volunteer any information, right? You don't want to volunteer anything that can be used against you. You know, officer, I have a weapon in the vehicle. Well, if you didn't ask for it, like Kyle said, that is relevant to, you know, if he says, do you have a weapon? Yeah, you have to disclose that. But the one thing that we do is with our Legal Shield memberships, I believe that anyone who owns a firearm, whether they conceal carry or not, needs to have some sort of a legal protection, okay? It's great that we as citizens of the United States, those of us who choose to carry, are, you know, putting ourselves in a position that we're going to defend not only ourselves, but we're going to defend the people in our community if something goes south. If we try and de-escalate something to the point where we've done everything we can and someone is still coming at you, okay, then there may or may not be a time to use it. Or if you see someone who is, you know, who's a shooter and they're shooting up citizens and you're a concealed carry person and you've got the training to stop that act from killing anybody else or harming anybody else, it may not be your obligation, but if you're going to carry and be a concealed carry person, it might be your, you know, you might feel the need to do something like that. You know, any situation that gets out of control, you know, is going to be a legal situation. If somebody gets shot, if you just pull your weapon out, it's going to be a legal situation. Okay, you're going to need someone on your side. You know, one of the things in Florida, you know, some of the areas that you're prohibited from carrying a weapon. One is a sports event. You can't carry a weapon inside of a sports event. You know, you can't carry a weapon into a bar where they're serving alcohol. But in Florida, you could have a restaurant and 10 feet away, you could have a bar. What happens if you get up from your chair and you walk to a bathroom and you got to cross in front of the bar and someone sees your shirt get flipped up and they see that you're carrying? Now, instead of concealed carrying, you're open carrying. If somebody sees that, okay, that's a situation that you could be, you know, it's an illegal situation.
Yep.
You know, what are your rights in that situation? You know, what do you need to do? Okay, if now somebody calls the police and they come in and, you know, they're going to stop you. So all of these things, you know, what if you have a question? I'm going to drive from Florida to Colorado and I have a weapon in my vehicle and I'm going through states. What are my rights carrying that weapon through all the states? Okay, with Legal Shield, one of the things that we do is give everyone, first of all, unlimited consultation. You can pick up the phone 5 times a day, you know, and ask questions and never be charged for that because it's all part of your subscription membership. You know, if you're buying or selling, what kind of contract, what kind of agreement do you need to have with that other person to make sure that if they get it and they go out and create an incident, is that going to come back to you? You know, so these are legal things that maybe people don't think about, but, you know, you need to be very, very aware of stuff like this. But one of the most important things, I think, is that with our legal plan, it dovetails with our family plan. So we have a family plan that covers you as an individual, civil lawsuit defense, contract document, getting your will, healthcare power of attorney. You know, if you're going to be carrying, and I think it's very important that you have your estate planning in place. You have your will, your healthcare power of attorney. You may be defending yourself, but what happens to your family if you get shot and killed? Okay, so we're going to cover all of that for you. But when you add on our gun owner's plan to that, now you're getting criminal trial defense. You're getting the ability to get an attorney 24/7 immediately if something happens. You know, I use an example. If somebody breaks into my home and I fire 2 shots, one of them kills the person breaking into my home. The other one goes through a window and kills my neighbor walking his dog. Okay? Could that happen? Absolutely. Was it my intent to shoot my neighbor? No. Am I going to be held criminally liable for that? Maybe not. But civilly, do you think that they're going to sue me because I did? Absolutely.
Yes.
So these are the unknowns that can come out. So I'll turn it back to you.
Well, I was going to go back to Kyle because since we have the benefit of actually having a law enforcement officer, there came an issue of, and I see these videos where people get stopped and they don't want to answer questions. So when you get stopped, what do you have to do? Because I was looking this up, and to my understanding, if they ask you your name and your address or ask you for your driver's license and you refuse, you are basically now can be put under arrest. But you clarify that for me.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much got it. If you get pulled over, you want to be as, I want to say, forthcoming as possible. I mean, your name, I wouldn't say, they probably won't ask you for your address, but your name, who you are, your license, your registration, your insurance. You do have the right to ask what you've been pulled over for. And they also can respond with, I need your license and registration to verify who you are. And then we can go from there. So, I mean, it's one of those things where they do eventually within the traffic stop have to tell you why you were pulled over, but you do have to. Yes, they do.
Yes,
at some point
eventually.
Right. And you see a lot of, I call them bad officers that kind of, you know, have you wait until the last minute. When you get the ticket, you find out what you did wrong. And again, I tell people too, is that's not your time to argue. You're gonna have your day in court just like anybody else. I've gotten tickets before, obviously, and even being law enforcement, police officer pulls me over, license, registration. How you doing, officer? What did I do wrong? I'll be right back. Dang, okay, all right, buddy. And so he goes, he does his thing, and I know when he runs my name, he's gonna find out all my stuff is blocked out. So, he knows I'm law enforcement. He comes back with a ticket, 42 and a 35. Slow it down. Have a good day. You were speeding, and that's it. I mean, like I said, there's good officers, there's bad officers. Officers that are having good days and they come up to you and they chop it up, and then you got officers that are having bad days and they're looking to get anybody. So, it is what it is. I take it all with a grain of salt and I just keep it moving. But it's all about your demeanor. I feel like the calmer you are, I'm naturally a calm person, but the calmer you are during the traffic stop, during the encounter period with police, the better the outcome is going to be for you. So, yeah, I leave it at that.
Yeah, because that was my main point. This isn't your time to try to win a debate.
Nah.
This is not the time to try to win a debate. So I have actually been pulled over and called the police because I was afraid. A situation where I was on a dark road going to my friend's house while she was babysitting, and somebody was behind me really close, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna move to the left. That person moved to the left. I was like, oh, this is creepy. I'm gonna make a U-turn, and then that person made a U-turn, and then eventually he turned on his lights, and I said, do you know? I thought someone was trying to kill me. You understand? Like,
yeah, that's
so.
scary.
I write my letters. I've seen things that happen, and I write my letters, or I call, or whatever. But I can't go toe to toe with a man with a gun. So
Right.
my main bottom line for people is, if they pull you over, even if they snobby, nasty, don't talk, don't matter. Give them what they want so they can go.
Right.
It's not the time to be like, what you pull me over for?
Right.
This is not the time. You cannot win. You cannot win.
I'll tell you a story. I was like probably 9-10 years old. And this was like early to mid 90s in New York. And I'm from Long Island. And my mom and I, we were out kind of far on the island visiting my godmother. And we were on our way home. And there's like a dark, windy road. It's probably like 5 or 6 miles before you can get on the Long Island Expressway to get back to where I'm from, to get back to Queens. And so we're on this long, windy road. This cop comes up behind us and puts his lights on. My mom made that cop follow us for like 4 miles before she pulled over. She just didn't feel comfortable. And it was around the Rodney King, LA riots time, like that time period. And I remember it being in my head, and I was, 9, maybe 10 years old. And I'm like, Ma, you tripping.
I don't think we can do that today, though. I don't think we're making 4 miles.
We were going 4 miles. And so it was a Suffolk County sheriff, and he comes up and he was heated. He said, man, what are you doing? Did you not see my lights? Da, 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 da. She's like, you wasn't going to pull me over on that dark road back there. And it just kind of, when you were telling me about your story, it's like the same thing, what I mean? It's a scary time. You know what I mean? It's never, especially all the things we see in the news and the media, especially the information that we're privy to all around the country now. It's not just like your local area. We don't just hear about Orlando. You know what I mean? Everybody hears about everything as it happens. And so, it's tough. It's a scary time that we live in.
Yeah. I can say all the time that I've been in Orlando, I don't even want to tell people, but I've driven while suspended, and I've been allowed to go home. I've met really nice officers here. And then I've also, when I was younger, our house was completely surrounded by SWAT at like midnight. And I'm like, Mom, guess what? And they were one street over at the wrong house. So I'm just grateful to God. Like, I've not been in such a situation, but
situations can go wrong. You saw the young lady that passed away last month, and the cops came with a no-knock warrant on the wrong house.
And thank God they overturned that. So
yeah. Oh, thank God.
Jesus.
Yeah, man. But I'm just saying, like, that's stuff that could have happened to any single one of us. And, it's just tough. I got pulled over in Washington when I first moved to Washington. I got a ticket in Florida, and I thought I paid it. I thought I paid it, but I didn't pay the full amount. It was like $131 ticket after the court fees or whatever. And I paid like 120 or whatever. So I owed like $15. You know, they suspended my Florida driver's license for that. So when I came to Washington and I got out the military, I was driving home and got pulled over, and they were like, you know, your driver's license is suspended, right? And I was like, what? No. And they let me go. I was in uniform and everything, and they let me go. And I was like, man, that could have ended so bad. And so, of course, I took care of it the next day. I was terrified. I was like, oh, no, I got to get this squared away. But, yeah, I could have ended up in jail for that. So like you said, there are good officers out there. They're not all bad. You know, they're not all what we see in the news. It's just, you know, the bad people are going to put the good people to shame. Unfortunately, one bad apple spoils a bunch. So
I think it's the thing is, when we put on our military uniforms, people say, thank you for your service. Nobody's going to be looking at police saying, thank you for your service. So they, yes, there are bad ones, but then it's the rough part of no one really respecting you because you're the guy who's about to cost me some money. So immediately they're like mad that this person pulled you over. You're mad that they're talking to you. I'm suspicious. And sometimes they do want a small talk at the window and like, so how's your day going? So how and then people are angry and, now you just turn the situation even worse because you're responding in this way. Not to say that anything of these things are justified what's happening, but sometimes we just make things even worse.
Right.
So when they pull you over, I saw the doctor loading up COVID supplies in his own front yard, and he got pulled up. Well, the officer pulled up, and I think that officer said that he didn't address me properly. He didn't call me officer, and so the ego kicked in. So
I didn't see that one.
Oh my God, it was a doctor in his own front yard. He said he thought the man was throwing trash in the yard, and he was like, I live here, and he walked off back to his vehicle, and his wife ended up having to come out with his driver's license. I think that was in Tampa or some Miami, like it was somewhere in Florida. It was in Florida, and he was a doctor taking out masks and things like that. So what would you say as far as like addressing them, like what to call them?
At the end of the day, there's no Florida statute that says you have to address an officer as officer. I mean, that officer was, I'm surprised he even said it. Even if that's what he felt.
He said he didn't
I'm
feel
surprised he even verbalized that. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, a lot of people are malfunctioning right now. So, Bob, what I was going to say too, does Legal Shield, when you get pulled over, do they have a card, a listing of this is what to say, or a card that you offer to the officer to say, I want to invoke my right to call my attorney, if you're not able to articulate?
No, that's a good point. But no, we don't have anything like that. I mean, look, what I think is that, you should try and just be as, professional as possible. I know things get heated. These are heated times. I think it's all about, a lot of it's about a personal perception as well. If we perceive, no matter who we're looking at, if we perceive them as the enemy, or we perceive someone as, coming out to get me,
Yes.
De-escalating a situation, usually, and I would think that if you handle yourself properly, and most of the officers have body cams and stuff like that. So if you handle yourself properly, until the point that things start escalating, if they do, you're just a citizen, you're answering all the questions, you're doing everything right. Okay, and that's what I think everybody should do. If there's a point that if there's a line that gets crossed where now you start feeling threatened, or if someone is getting aggressive with you, that's when, if you are a Legal Shield member, that's when you can ask the officer, I'm being stopped, I'm being questioned. You're detaining me from going. So if you're stopped, questioned, or detained, we all have our Miranda rights. We all have the right to have someone else represent us.
Right.
It doesn't have to be when you're going down to court. Doesn't have to be, but in a situation that's turning into an emergency, if you feel it's getting out of control, okay, just ask the officer, officer, I'm uncomfortable. If you have legal shield, what the ability and the rights that you have, you can say, officer, I would like to call my attorney. Okay. Now, he has two options at this point. They can either deny you your rights, but they have to arrest you, or they can allow you your right to call your attorney. At that point, with legal shield, you can pull out your phone, have a representative on the line. Could be 2 o'clock in the morning. Officer, my attorney would like to speak to you. Okay.
Oh, wow.
So now that is a very, very powerful asset for you to have. Okay. Very few people have the ability to pick up their phone, you know, and have someone on the other end of the line that's not only going to represent you, but it's going to represent you right now. And that's what Legal Shield does. We offer affordable access to our rights. Okay. The rights that we all assume that we have, it's even printed on the west side of the Supreme Court, you know, equal justice for all. But most time in our country, you get about as much justice as you can afford. Okay. I think that's the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you know, quite frankly, if you don't know your rights, it's as if you don't have any rights at all. And anybody can tell you anything, and you have no way to justify or to say if that's right or wrong. At least with Legal Shield, you can call in, you can ask questions, you can get your rights answered. But as going back to your question, no, we don't have any kind of specific card. What we recommend is everybody, you know, comply with an officer. You know, don't try and escalate anything. But if it gets out of control, you have recourse. You have access to your rights in a situation like that.
So we've seen another case of a gentleman standing on the side of the building. He saw the Postmates driver delivering the food, and he is armed. The gentleman standing on the side of the building, and he decides to follow the Postmates driver through the parking lot and threatens him with a gun.
Wow.
I don't know if anybody saw that.
I didn't see that one either.
I watch a lot of videos, man. I've seen a lot.
I'm saying, you get it all.
And so people get this citizens on patrol, what do you call it, neighborhood watch itch, because they got a gun. And anybody want to talk about that?
Yeah, the George Zimmermans of the world.
Jesus.
They're out here. I mean, that's the bottom line is they are out here, and you have to, you know, be aware of everything you do and who you come in contact with, because you never know. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons that I am armed all the time, because I feel like, you know, you never know when you're going to run into that George Zimmerman type person. You never know when that's going to happen. So, you know, I always want to be prepared if that does happen to be able to defend my life.
Okay. Anything for you, Bob, on that?
Yeah, I do. So, you know, Kyle is absolutely right. You know, and the one thing that, you know, if you're going to be a concerned citizen, if you're going to, you know, step up and have a firearm, and I said this before, you know, you should not only, you know, have the knowledge to protect yourself and use your firearm in case you need to use it, but, you know, you should always have, put yourself in a position that if anything goes south, if anything happens as a result, you know, you've got the ability to pull out your phone, tap that app, and get instant access. You know, there's a lot of great gun owner plans out there, but, you know, the bottom line is in all gun owners' plans if you're not using it in a weapons-related incident. It's just really insurance that's sitting on the table. Legal Shield is a little bit different because we combine that with a part of our service is that you're able to use that every day. You're able to use it outside of a gun-related incident. You're able to get your healthcare power of attorney, your medical directives, your will. It covers you and your spouse automatically. And it covers you in all 50 states. There's a law firm in every state that's going to represent you. So if I am a citizen of Florida and I go to Georgia or North Carolina or Suffolk County, New York, okay, I'm covered under that umbrella because no matter where I go, that phone app is going to put me in contact with Legal Shield, okay? And the way that works is that you'll have access to your home, law firm, which is right here in Orlando, but they're going to put you in contact with the law firm no matter where you are. So yes, being proactive, having a weapon, being trained, but also having the ability in case you need it, whether it's a gun-related incident or not, having the ability to access your legal rights in America, okay? And I can't stress enough that there is only one company out there, and that's the Legal Shield. One company that's offering, unlimited access for $24.95 for the entire family, okay? So that's the member's spouse or significant other, and up to 8 kids, everybody covered under one membership.
Everybody can put the app on their phone.
Everybody can have the app on their phone.
My son has the app on his phone.
Your 12-year-old or your 18-year-old who's driving, one of the things that we will do, if you get a traffic citation, we are going to represent you in court, no matter where you are. Our goal is to keep the points off your license, get it fine, reduced, or eliminated, okay? Not having points on your license means if you get a ticket, your auto insurance is not going to go up. And I think we can all agree we're already paying way too much for auto insurance at this point.
Way too much.
Way too much. What
$100 this year.
What happens when your teenage driver gets a ticket? Okay, your auto insurance goes way up. Okay, and I just want to say that the service that I'm talking about is something that I became part of Legal Shield because I needed the service. And it's helped me so many times. What we've done is, we have a law enforcement plan for law enforcement officers. We have a plan for your family. We have a plan for your business. We have a plan if you are a small base, a home-based business, okay? And if you're a gun owner. So what we've tried to do is we've tried to let people gain access depending on where they are in their stage of life. If they're a business owner, if they're an individual, all of these things. So, I recommend anybody who's on the line over here, my website is bobjoseph.com. Okay. I'm a partner with Erica. I come on board to support her. If anybody sees the need, certainly Kyle is teaching people how to use and how to be responsible gun owners. Maybe you want to offer this as, if you don't have a legal service to protect you, maybe this is something that you should have. You should at least be aware of that there are plans out there.
Absolutely, I will definitely add that to my spiel. That's good information. Yeah. You know what? My agency paid for it for me, so I had no idea about the cost. I had no idea that all 8 people were covered. I didn't know any of that. So that's great information. That's great.
So
information.
We'll get you some information, but that's the difference between being unaware and having access. Having access is today in our society is not only the difference between building your life, your business on a solid foundation, but it could literally be a difference between life and death.
Wow.
Right.
So
for sure.
So for some people who don't feel comfortable with actually having a weapon, There's another young lady I work with, LaQuanda, the safety goddess, and she deals with like mace and tasers and things like that. You know, not everybody wants to full-blown pick up a gun. So LaQuanda, the safety goddess, she's out there in Tampa. Bob and we're here in Central Florida, and he told you his website again. Shoot it out there.
BobJoseph.com.
BobJoseph.com. Kyle, how do we reach you for classes?
My website is coveryasixshooter.com. So it's coveryasshooter.com. You can reach me there. You can reach me on Facebook, Kyle Thompson Sr. Just add me. I'm out there. Send me a message. I talk to a ton of people a day.
You have some pretty big classes too. What was the size of your last class?
I've actually capped my classes at 12 students, but now I'm doing multiple classes per day. So the 24 student classes was not going well.
Okay, too many. Yeah.
It was just too many. It was just too many people, and I want to give my my clients more one-on-one feel. And then if I'm doing one-on-one for 24 people, that means 23 people are waiting. So I've cut my classes in half to 12 students, and it's been working really, really well for me. My concealed weapons classes are 2 to 2.5, anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, 3 hours being the extreme situation, usually about 2 hours long. We go in there, we do the classroom portion of it, which is 45 minutes to an hour. And then we do the one-on-one training on the range for each person. And then after that, they get their certificates, and they can submit it to the Department of Agriculture or whatever tax collector is local for them, and wait to get their CCW in the mail and be able to protect themselves and their family.
So for us prior military, we might not need the class for the license, but we might need a refresher because, you know, I was out in 2006, so I definitely would rather go back and take the classes that, you know. And then, do you allow children in your classes, in any of them?
I do, yeah. I actually try to throw a children's class every month. I try to do one every month. Lately, it's been one every other month. Just because of COVID-19 and how busy I've been with the concealed weapons. The concealed weapons is kind of taking over because now that there's a need, I try to fill the need, and the response that I've gotten from the community has been huge, and it seems like a lot of people need CCWs, so I've been ramping those classes up. With the class sizes going down and the demand going up, I've been real busy with concealed weapons classes, and so it's a blessing. I've been doing that. But I also don't want to forget about my kids. I have 4 kids myself, a 12, 11, 9, and 5-year-old. So to me, like, the kids are the best because they're easy to train. They don't have bad habits, and you feel better after you train a kid that was terrified to even text again at the beginning, and then at the end they can't wait. Can I shoot more, Mr. Kyle? And I like that. I like that.
So for sure, when I took my class, I did not want to take a class and not have my son trained. If I was going to have a weapon in the house, I want my son to be comfortable, that he knows it's not a toy. So it's very important that if you're going to even have a gun around, or I just think even if you didn't have a weapon around, you still should have your kids trained, because that type of exposure, because if someone comes in your house with a gun, or maybe they drop a gun, or maybe your kid finds a gun, you need to have your children, you know, not necessarily keeping our kids in the space of a child all the time, but preparing them to live in this world, you know. That's my mindset. So
me too. I raise my kids the same way. You know, not sheltered. They get to see the real, and they know what's what. And hopefully that develops street smarts, and they're able to protect themselves when daddy's not there, you know, because we ain't always going to be there. So,
you know, I'll add one thing. You know, I was looking at some statistics, and, you know, the high point of gun ownership was around 1990, which about 47% of the American people either owned or owned some sort of a weapon. But today it's still 37%. 37% of 380 million people in America. So having your kids knowledgeable, if they find something, if they see someone, you know, and you know, being able to at least, you know, better able to handle a situation, you know, like that. So I agree with Kyle, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Ms. LaQuanda is watching on Facebook Live, and I'm just going to tell her to drop her information because she sells mace and other things, and she teaches classes for women out there in Tampa, and it's very important. A lot of, you know, women who've been in abuse situations, or, you know, it's important too for women to be in a comfortable space so that, you know, they can be able to deal with, you know, the different complications that come with that. But she definitely specializes with women who've been in abuse situations and they want to protect themselves. She does weapons training down there, but also things like mace and tasers and different devices where you can put in your purse to keep yourself safe. We're going to end this here. It's been great talking to you all. I'm going to put you all on mute unless you got anything else.
I'm
Yep,
good.
I'd like to say, yep, one other thing, you know, the Legal Shield Gun Owners Plan doesn't just cover guns. Any weapon, you know, if you're using a baseball bat for self-defense, a knife, mace, you know, a taser, you know, that's all covered. It's anything related to self-defense. So I just wanted to throw that out because there's a lot of people who don't feel comfortable carrying a weapon, a gun, but will carry a taser or will carry mace or something like that.
Oh, there is something I wanted to say. So also, with the concealed weapons permit, if you do decide to get your concealed weapons permit, but you're not interested in carrying a gun, you can get your concealed weapons permit with me. You are required to fire a round, but it does actually cover your stun guns, your mace, your pepper spray that aren't on a keychain that are exposed. When you have them in your purse and they're concealed, they're technically considered a concealed weapon. So if you do want to cover yourself on that front, I'm sorry, what was the lady from Tampa's name?
LaQuanda, the safety goddess.
Miss LaQuanda, the safety goddess. She has all your stuff, but if you want a CCW to make sure that what you're carrying you're still covered from or covered with, your CCW is gonna take care of you with that. It's not just firearms that it covers.
All right, I'm gonna mute it all, and we're gonna get out of here, and I'm gonna do my close. All right. And this was a great evening. We had Kyle Thompson Jr., correction officer, current correction officer, firearms instructor. He's out there. His business is called Cover Your Six. Sorry about that. Cover Your Six. He's doing great things in Central Florida. LaQuanda, the safety goddess, is out there in Tampa. She dropped her link in the live. So if you need to talk to LaQuanda down there in Tampa, she's on the live right now. Then we have Mr. Bob Joseph, ex-military, Legal Shield Bronze Executive Director of the Gun Owners Plans. Anything you want to know about gun owners' rights, if you want to do a seminar about gun owners' rights, he is the man. Second Amendment and concealed weapons carry advocate. BobJoseph.com is how you reach him. One of my favorite gun guys, you know. Us both, all three of us being ex-military, you know, and just liking, you know, just helping people, helping families. That's what we do. Also, I want to let you know, free consultations with myself. You can get a free book, The Financial Pocket Knife. I'm a financial coach, a speaker. I help with vision boards, ex-military, U.S. veteran. And, you know, my life is just dedicated to helping families and people, you know, eliminating the ignorance. You know, I want people to have the right answers. I want you to become closer to the experts that you can really get solid advice, not just rumors, not just Facebook talk, but let's talk about the law. You know, let's talk about how money works, you know, not just living on conjecture, but getting it down and getting it down right, because people are making a lot of mistakes out here. It's costing them their money, it's costing them their health, and it's costing them their life. And I want to help eliminate that. So check me out. TheFirstLadyErica.com is my website. Facebook, you can find me at The First Lady Erica, YouTube, LinkedIn. and Instagram. It was great talking to you all, and I will take a 1-week hiatus to go spend time with family, and we'll be back with more topics that you can use. And if you have some suggestions about the topics that you want to hear about, give me a shout out, hit me in my inbox, and let me know what you want to talk about. All right. Have a great evening.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Bye.